Welcome to my channel. My name is Juliana. I am an accountant and I'm an accountant who loves makeup, especially color for makeup. Today's video is all about the new Natasha Denona retro palette. As you know, and everybody in the whole world, Natasha brought out a new palette. I've already swatched all the shades in this palette, which I will link to this video if you want to have a look, but this is the palette I'll be using for this look. For this look, I actually used 10 shades out of 15 in the palette. And if you want to see how I created this look, then please keep on watching. Alright, since I'll be using her palette, I'm also going to use Natasha's eyeshadow primer, and this one is color 2. Just blending that in. I'm also using a different brush to blend in the primer today because it's kind of different in texture to the pillowy primer, just slightly, and it dries faster as well. So it's already dried, so just quickly blend in this side as well. I'm also using a smaller brush because I don't want it to get out of my hand. I don't want it to go all over the place, because I know this eyeshadow palette actually works without a primer, so I guess I don't need that much of an eyeshadow primer. Alright, primer all done. Let's bring you closer. I know I definitely want to play in the burgundy tones, that's for sure. This shadow actually looks darker than this one, but in actual reality this one is darker than this. It's a funny thing. I'm just gonna show you the difference. So my finger is this darkest one, and on this finger is this one that is supposed to be the lighter one. So this is the one that looks darker in the pan, and that's the lighter in the pan. Yeah, it's a funny thing. So this is the one that looks lighter is actually darker than this other one. I'm not going to swatch this palette in this video because I've already done, and I will link it to the side of this video. So the plan is to have like a more burgundy look on my lower lid and then mixed on the upper lid, but I don't know how that's going to pan out yet. But I'm just going to have the burgundy shades on my lower lid first. So I'm starting with this, and I'll put this on my outer edge. So this is the shade Rebellion, and I'm using a pencil brush. So this is a Zoeva Luxe 230 brush, and the top of it is not exactly synthetic. It's kind of like a mixture from what I can see, but it's Zoeva 230. So this shade Rebellion is actually a cream to powder formula, so you have to be using the right brush for it to show up. I'm going in with a Morphe pencil brush, which is actually synthetic, and I'm taking the shade Groove, and I'm going to put that on the outer edge. Oh, this shade is beautiful. Can you see that? That is absolutely beautiful. And I'm also putting a little bit on my outer edge. I'm going to use it to shape my eye. So lightly taking down to my crease. I'm not blending, I'm stamping. So stamping it down just to give me the shape of a V. I'm gonna pull the shade forward. With a Morphe flat brush, I'm gonna go into this shade. I don't know how dark it's gonna look on my eye, but if it's dark, I'm gonna kind of like mix it with another shade. And the shade is called Apart. I think this is one of the ones that is in a lila palette. I'm putting that in the front, joining it to that shade Groove, and gently just marking my crease in a form of an oval. Now I'm patting. Once I've done the shape, I'm just patting now. I mean, the first thing I did was to first of all drag just to draw the oval shape, and now I'm patting just to blend it in. Alright, to blend out the shade Apart, I'm taking the shade Nude Mauve, and I'm just going to use that on top of Apart just to lighten it up and blend it into my skin tone because it's quite dark. So right now I'm just blending into my skin. And then to blend out Groove, I'm taking the shade Rebellion on this side. I really love the tones of Rebellion. So beautiful. It's like a mix between red and burgundy shade. Oh, absolutely beautiful. I'm also going to dip into the shade Amara. Then put that right high on my lid. And I'm also bringing Amara down on the side. I'm going to be going between Rebellion and Amara to blend out Groove. Now going with Amara, I'm going to fill my entire lid with Amara. Oh, this is beautiful. Amara seems to me like just a matte, so it's not like a cream to powder formula. It's just like a matte shade, but very, very smooth matte. And now for the empty space in front of my eye, I'm going for Nude Mauve. So I'm just closing this space. So blending Nude Mauve into Amara, into all of the shades I've used. I just don't want the inner pattern to be too dark. And then on top of everything, I'm going to use the shade Vivian. I want a different gradient to the rest of the lid. So I want to make this bit dark. I want to make this bit lighter. And that's where I'm going to stop with the matte. Alright, time for the shimmer, and going for my BH Cosmetics glitter primer as usual. And I'm going to put that over my lid, and I'm also going to kind of use it to cut my crease. I'm just using it to do a fake cut crease. So everywhere I want my shimmers to be, this glitter glue is going to go all over. So stopping just right here. I'm just going to quickly blend with my fingers. So blend that glue in with the matte shade I put on earlier. And I'm also putting some primer on my lower lid as well. Right up to like a quarter of my lower lid. Because I want to put it like a two-tone color shimmer there. So I'm going to be using two shimmer shades on my lid. I'm going to be using the shade Jude, this one. As well as this one over here, which is called Swing, I think. Going with Jude first, and the shade is Sprayed. I'm putting that in my inner lid, basically on a third of my lid, and dragging it to further shape the cut crease. Stopping right here. And I'm also going to use my finger to make sure that it's all pressed down. I'm flipping my brush over and I'm going into the shade Swing. Again, this shade has been sprayed to avoid any fallout and to give me the maximum effect of the metallicness. If that's even a word. Well, I'm literally just laying it on my... everywhere I put the glitter primer on my outer edge here. Now going back into Jude, I'm going to start blending the two shades into each other. So Jude and Swing. So literally turning it over. Swing for the outer and Jude for the inner. I'm just going to back and forth until it's well blended together. Now going with my finger into Swing, I'm just going to make sure that the shade is sealed and further blend it out as well. Jude, just keep on blending the two until I get a perfect mix. Yeah, I think I'm there. I'm going to glitz just a little, just here with my finger. I'm just going to kind of use that to merge the two shades together right here in the middle. I mean, it doesn't make much of a difference. I think it just gives it a little bit of some sort of vavavoom. Alright, for my inner corner, I'm going into the shade Psychedelic, which is the one right here in the middle. It's one of those shades that's got like a little glitters in them, so you have to be careful. And I sprayed mine just to avoid fallout, and I'm laying that just right at the bottom of my lid here and just a little bit in the inner corner as well. And then finally I'm going into Swing, and I'm just going to use that to blend psychedelic into the mats. And last thing, I'm going to use a pencil. This is I can't say the name of the shade right now, but I'll put it below, but it's from Glam Shop, and I'm going to use that to tightline my lid. And lastly, for my wing, I'm also going to use the same shade. So I'm going to use Rebellion for my inner edge, and then use Groove for the outer wing. Pulling Rebellion on my lash line, and then Groove on the outer edge. Okay, that's as far as we're going with this look, so I'm gonna go put on my lashes and I'll be right back to show you the finished look. Alright, this is the completed look using the new Natasha Denona Retro palette. I'm just gonna bring you closer. This is what the eyes are looking like up close. Okay, my thought on the palette is it's absolutely beautiful, and the first time I saw this palette, I can't describe how I felt. Normally, I mean, for me, this is kind of like neutral, but those burgundy tones, anyone, if you've been on this channel for a while, you know I love red and any variation of red. So for me, burgundy, oh, absolutely beautiful. I mean, despite these light pink tones in this palette, I just think it complements it. I don't want his own like pink colors, but together with this palette, it just makes a lot of sense, and it's such a beautiful palette. I mean, it's got quite a few different formulas, and if you look at this, I'm kind of almost eating pan on this one already because I've been using it non-stop since I got my hands on this palette. It's such a beautiful shade, and it's the cream to powder formula, so it doesn't have any fallout. So I love this shade so much. In terms of application, I had no problem with the palette. I mean, you saw they blended like a dream, especially with a primer. They just blended like a dream, almost like they were made for each other. There was no patchiness, there was no dragging, nothing. Everything just kind of did what it was supposed to do. Absolutely beautiful palette and beautiful formulas. I enjoy this. Specifically, I wanted to show you as well that you don't need special brushes to be able to use this palette, because the brushes I used were Morphe brushes, Zoeva brushes, ones from Glamlite. They are all mid-range, I want to say. The most expensive of this brush is like a mid-range in terms of prices. Otherwise, they were all kind of like drugstore, lower end kind of prices. So you can achieve a nice look, smooth look, without using expensive brushes. I mean, the only shades I didn't use today are Yellow, which is this one. I also didn't use this very light shade, as well as the one beside it here. And then Patty. I never used Patty as well. That is the shade right here. I mean, like I said, I've already swatched this palette in a previous video because I didn't want this to be too long. I just wanted it for the demo. And that's what we did today. We just used this palette, and I used 10 out of 15 shades in this palette. I mean, over the week I have used all of the shades. As of today, as of this look, I've used all of the shades in this palette, and none of them gave me any issues, no problem. And as you know, during the week I don't even use a primer, so you can imagine it just blended like a dream. In fact, if anything, I prefer it without a primer, because you can literally move your brush, swatch, do whatever you want, you know, on a dry lid, you know, when the primers are not wet. But even today with the primer, it still worked beautifully. I also used the palette last week, and I can confirm that the shades actually last over 8 hours, because I did a look and I went out and I never got to take any pictures until I got back. The picture is on my Instagram if you want to have a look. That was on a dry base. There was no primer, and I actually went out, you know, for a long time. So I can confirm that this palette, the shades, they last for a long time and they don't fade with time. Alright guys, that brings us to the end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed this demo. If you have, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to my channel. And until next time, I'll see you.